allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Chloe. Okay.
Good job, Chloe. Good
Before I get started tonight, I should say for my two daughters that helped last month, I forgot to thank Carrie for bringing the refreshments.
Yeah, can you turn your mic on and make sure this announcement is nice and loud?
Anyway, last month, my daughter Carrie brought the refreshments and she did tonight, so my wife's away, so I appreciate them and didn't want to get in trouble with family, so appreciate that. Okay, roll call tonight. Everybody is present except Mr. Daniel. He is sick. Seen him today and he looked pretty sick, so be thinking of him. So during this.
I saw him about half an hour ago, was it?
The agenda is before us, board. Any additions or deletions? If not, all those in favor by approving this agenda, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And so we're ready to go. Our presentations, there are none tonight. And so now we'll start with public comment. Anybody here tonight? Public comment. Now is your time. Not everybody at once.
Hey, well, you know what we should do? Well, Purdy's here. You're here.
Okay,
you're here.
if
We'll
there's
take a picture of
not-
all three of you.
We, you notice we added a little bit from the supervisor's comments on item number 6. This is not to, where we don't have any problems with anything that has been said before, but I think it's important when a couple issues that were mentioned at last month's meeting about issues, I believe it's very important that we do make sure that these items that people do bring up, we don't necessarily, and I'll be the first one to say I can't remember what I did yesterday, but we do want to make sure that people understand. Ms. Petrosky did ask a question about show stack and about the ongoing meetings that we've been having with them, and we did actually on back our very first meeting, we did approve of Mr. Trustee Trent and Trustee Schmidt to be on this committee. It was approved on that night, and it also was approved to waive the certain posting of the meetings and roll call. So that would be on our first meeting, which was December
12.
12th. And we do have copies up here if anybody would like to see exactly what had gone on at that meeting. So just to make sure, you know, we are not doing anything behind closed doors with the USD project that's coming ahead. I've made it clear that with the developers that are over there, that we will be upfront and the residents will know of what's going on over there when something solid comes to the attention of this township, and we will be notifying the public and let them know of what's going on. Second item is on the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, there was issues about problem on the Planning Commission with attendance on one of the commissioners that were on here. And just to let everybody know, as I said, that I had addressed the situation, was addressing it, and it was addressed. The chairperson realized that he was not communicating properly in some ways, and we had a meeting about it. It's been settled, and things are moving right along with the Planning Commission. And I appreciate their diligence in working with each other and to create unity and harmony amongst that. Okay, we're down to the consent agenda. Mr. Wynn?
All right, before I begin, I just wanted to clarify the order. C for invoices should be letter D. just so on D, E, F, and G rather than C, D, E, and F. I did that. So I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of last month's March 11th meeting of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. The closed session meeting minutes of last month. The disbursements for March 2014, the general fund, we dispersed checks $86,180.71. Those were checks 24,569 through 24,624. It also included the escrow fund, one check of $500, check 1548. We had a total payroll last month of $43,280.82. Through Paycor, we spent $173.50. The sewer fund, we had checks totaling $5,961.04. These were checks 1917 through 1918. Invoices for the upcoming month of April 2014, we have general fund invoices of $60,936.53. Invoices in the sewer fund, we have $1,669.41, and the escrow fund of $227.50. The next item, Salem Township's designated banks will be Comerica Bank and J.P. Morgan Chase. The official newspapers of record for Salem Township will be the South Lyon Herald, and if time constraints, we need to use the AnnArbor.com or the Ann Arbor newspaper, which is the same, just recently been renamed now to be the Ann Arbor News. And the official meeting dates, 2014 and 15, as indicated. I probably should find it here, and I will make a comment about one of the meeting dates. The November meeting, instead of being the second Tuesday, you guys notes that there's an asterisk on there. The board meeting will be held on the third Tuesday of November due to Veterans Day on the second Tuesday. And we need to follow that, so we will just be moving the board meeting till the third Tuesday. So that is the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second on that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're down to business items under administrative. And this is a motion. I'll make the motion to move that Salem Township, under the resolution of 2014-04-08-01, as attached, a grant that requests Salem Community Events for utilizing the Township Complex, 9600 6 Mile, and the surrounding adjacent properties for the annual Flag Day event scheduled June 7, 2014. Setup for events will begin June 6th and clean up on June 8th. In addition to utilize the wastewater treatment plant site located 7700 Salem Road for annual Flag Day celebration fireworks on June 7th, 2014, that should be right. With the rain date, June 14th. All necessary license and proofs have been provided. Also authorizing the supervisor to sign and issue the permit under the approved township board. Do I have a second on this?
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's always a great event that we all do look forward to, so, which will be here before you know it. The green grass will be here, and
Swim over to it.
right. Okay, down to item 2 under zoning board of appeals, a new appointment. I move that Salem Township approve the following appointments to the Salem Township Zoning Board of Appeals to complete the last year of a 3-year term beginning April 1st, 2014, ending December 31st, 2014. It's Mr. Keith Paul, and you've had a bio of him, and we'd like to appoint him to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Trent seconds. Any questions? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're down to, do we need to discuss the dental benefits?
Just, we're still working on it. We've gotten several different additional ideas for the dental benefits. We've got someone else gave us something that can possibly save us even more money than maybe doing a stipend. There's Humana, which possibly could be it. I was given another dental choice. They're down to $15 for single coverage, $43 for a family. So I think we need to weigh all the options and maybe not come up with a motion quite yet, but we probably are getting there.
Refreshment, how many, we have one?
We only have
One
one
person
eligible,
eligible for it.
so that limits a lot of plans, because if you're a group, you gotta have more than one.
Now, you're saying, Jim, you're saying something?
I believe I'm eligible as well. I haven't taken that opportunity.
Okay.
Well, the reason why we need to know is because we believe we were dropped because of only having one. So, I believe, so that's.
If you were eligible, well, but we can talk about it
I
later.
think we should talk about it on a sidebar and see.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll pass that on, the dental benefits, and Mr. Lindsley, you want to handle the next item on the agenda, the fiber tech network?
So I move that Salem Township approve the Metro Act application form for access to and ongoing use of public right-of-way within Salem Township for the purpose of constructing a fiber optic network extension to service its customers. And I put on there, see attached application and permit. Do we need a second before we talk about it?
Yes. If it's a motion.
So let's have a second, and then we can bring a few ideas.
I'll second.
So this is much like AT&T when they got in touch with us last fall. They want to bring their cables down the road, and as long as they're in the right of way, that's fine. This is an out-of-state company that was contracted to put in fiber optic cable as well. I was informed, though, that we need to make sure that this permit is very similar, exactly similar to the statutory.
That's approved by the Michigan Public Service Commission.
Right, and from what we found from legal counsel, it's pretty close, and
It is identical.
it's identical, so we have no problem with this. So we'll go ahead and make the motion, and continue it, and
Can I ask a question? Is this gonna be above ground or below ground?
it's all below ground, as far as I know.
And do they anticipate like traffic pattern, changes? You know, they're gonna have to shut things down?
I don't believe so. When AT&T started doing some work on 5 Mile last fall, I think they just put their cones out on the side. It's nothing that's gonna be like I-96 or anything like that.
Bill, you know, I've tried finding, and I could not find any information, if this fiber tech is any subsidiary, or is it a parent company, or a subsidiary of a fiber tower technology? Because the reason why I'm asking is I've been getting a lot of communication to the bankruptcy of the fiber towers, and I could not see any, but I didn't know if you know of any.
From what I understand, they're out of Rochester, New York here.
Yeah, and the other fiber tower was out of San Francisco, so I don't know, but I just raised the flag with me because I know that they were in bankruptcy proceedings. The other one,
Yeah.
fiber tower.
Don't believe so. I think we've got all their attachments and all their,
Yeah, I didn't
it
see.
appears to me that it's all
Yeah,
official and all
It
good.
didn't either me, but I just wanted to make sure if anybody knew anything more than.
No, Ed, you haven't heard anything about that?
No, and they do have to put forth a performance bond or letter of credit before they can proceed with any construction.
So did that, okay. I don't have a problem.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a second on that, right?
Very bad.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, we're down to the lease on the 4 tracks. I think you were here last month. We asked legal counsel to put together a lease for us on the 4 tracks. Everything is, looks like in order. All of them have it in front of you. Basically, it pays $17,000 for this coming year to farm that property. And I think we got some good, exciting things coming up from our Land Preservation Board, who has been meeting about putting some, talking about how to preserve that over there, to have rules and regulations for that 235 acres that the township owns, and but anyway, that's what this lease agreement. Any questions about this? I don't believe we need a motion, it's just something we need to sign.
Well, I think they should
Make a motion to
authorize
accept.
you to execute
All
this
right,
on behalf
so
of
I make a motion that the Salem Township Board gives the supervisor the authority to sign this, have this lease agreement signed.
I'll second that.
Gail Conner seconds it. All those in favor?
Mr. Supervisor, I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to ask a quick question. With our discussion in the prior 2 months, is there any need for a clause that talks about us going out for bid later this year for this parcel of land for farming purposes? For example, item 2 here says they'll pay it before April 30th, 2014. Okay, the lease ends at the end of this year. So going back to our discussion earlier, it's our intent that later in the fall, we'll go out for bid.
Right.
And that this lease will terminate on its own terms at the end of the year.
Okay, very good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Can I bring a question?
All right. Go ahead, Bush.
If the fall ends up being too wet for harvest and it goes past December 31st, which occasionally it does,
Right,
would that be a problem? It wouldn't encroach on the new lease,
right.
but we would indeed still be able to harvest, as long as it didn't encroach on the new planting season.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll throw you out on 31st. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, moving right along to financials. Um, The request, where do you have that? Mr. Wensley? For a proposal for the tank for pump for Rescue 901.
All right, motion to approve the request for proposal. I move that Salem Township Board of Trustees approve the fire chief's request to submit an RFP for a tank pump for the rescue truck 901. And following the second, Fire Chief Barker will provide the budget details and equipment specifications for this. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mary Beth, seconds. Any discussion on this? Clarification?
Thank you, Township Board, for allowing me to talk a little bit about our Rescue 911. We had an existing system, which was an old steel tank that was 80 gallons approximately, that used nitrogen to charge the system. It was filled with water and foam. And the purpose of that was if we had a car fire, that we could charge the system and put the car fire out. Now it's a one-time shot, no refills. Once we use the cylinder, it's gone. The cylinder's valves were broken. I didn't feel it was appropriate to sink more money into this old type system here. So what I'm proposing, I gave the board, you'll see a request for proposal and kind of a general picture of the skid mount that we're looking for. The benefits of the new system would allow us to fight not only car fires, with the flip of a switch we could have foam, with another flip of a switch we can go to water. We'd also be able to not just have 80 gallons, but we'd have 150 to 250 gallons, depending on what the bid would come out to fit in the square that we have in the back of the truck. It would allow us to dynamically connect to our tanker or other water source and continue to flow water, so we'd have an unlimited amount of water. This is a simple design. It's been proven. It's been around the fire services for many years. The improvements would be a poly tank that would have a lifetime warranty with a simple pump and a simple fire hose, and the ability to fill this from the outside, from an outside source. So it would be a great enhancement for our existing system. I don't think it's worthwhile for what we have right now to sink any more money into that. We didn't use it a lot because of the fact as soon as we charged it, it was pretty much a spent system. So it had limited uses. So this is making our rescue more versatile. It's making our rescue, if we should ever find ourselves in a brush fire, or the need to supply with more water, we could do that fairly quickly. And again, flipping a switch, we can go to foam, which give us a better firefighting capability. Does the Township Board have any questions? We're estimating the cost of this to be somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000, but of course, that would be based on an estimate because we're requesting bids. And you'll see in front of you a pretty detailed specification that was worked out with a couple of the firefighters within the department and also canvassing the firefighters for their input.
Quick question. Last fall, we did a skid unit. Is this pretty much identical to it, or?
It is, but it isn't. So the skid mounted that went on the brush truck, which is basically a pickup truck, is it's a high pressure, low volume. So that's made more for brush fires, so that the pickup truck can go out into a field where we get a lot of field fires. Because of the light footprint in there, it has the ability to fire out into a field where the rescue is a heavy rescue. We're not going to take that off-road. So what we're looking for the rescue to be is a capability for car fires. If the car happens to catch the nearby brush, you would have this capability. If for some reason we get this sometimes where we get a call, it's a medical, ends up being a house fire, we could do a little bit of attack and we could resupply this again with the tanker. Currently, we don't have that capability. Currently, we pulled this out because of the fact that we had to sink some money in it last year, and I didn't want to sink any money into it until we had a better game plan for, I think, a long-term solution that would give us more versatility with our rescue.
Any other questions? You have a second? All those in favor, say aye.
Supervisor, do we have a chance for the public, or?
You can, give you a chance.
If I would, I'd just like to direct them to Mr. Rockwell, since he's the expert on this. I was around when they created the original specs for the original vehicle, and it was created for a car fire, but also for an MVA, motor vehicle accident. And it had very specific equipment on that, where the jaws of life and everything were fully connected, ready to go. So you pulled that vehicle out if you had a motor vehicle accident with the potential for a car fire. And that insert was created in such a way that, yes, if you didn't use it correctly, you could break it. And it was broken probably the first year, but they're very simple valves to replace. And yes, it's a one shot, but when would you have just that vehicle going out on a run? You would always have your engine, which is what you really use to flow water. You wouldn't want that to be your primary source for pumping water onto a fire, you would agree. You somewhat contradicted yourself. You said you would use that for a brush fire, but you'd use the brush truck for a brush fire, not really that, because of the new high pressure. We just spent $25,000 on a new skid into that, if I'm not, is that correct, Mr. Rockwell? Roughly?
I think it's about 22.
Okay, 22,000, sorry. I believe that, have we looked to see how much it costs to replace these valves that we're looking at? And I know that it's been out of the rescue for at least a year. It's at least been a year that we haven't had anything in there at all. It was pulled out. I don't know if anybody really knows where it is. And we've never really looked at replacing just the valves. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of dollars versus 10 to 15,000 to put in a whole new pump. It is a one shot. It's what it was made for. You pull up on a motor vehicle accident, if the car's on fire, some people help the person that they're trapped inside, some people put out the fire. You have your engine rolling, and then you have your tanker rolling. And they have really cool backup cameras on them too. We spent a lot of money in the fire department. I'd hate to see us spend another 10 or 15,000 when we could repair equipment that was designed for that. I do have the specs with me. If anybody would like to look at the original specs of the rescue, I did like that with me today. So I can't believe we'd spend that much more money when we could just replace some valves and get this truck back up and running tomorrow, as opposed to going out for a whole RFP.
Any other comments?
Would you like a rebuttal? So thank you, Mr. Rakowski, for your opinions. The vehicle is going to be much more robust and much more effective with this new type system. The challenges we have is we don't have a guarantee that we're going to have a second guy out there. We're a paid-on-call department, so when the tones go off, the first person to the station takes the appropriate vehicle. We run the risk of not having the engine right behind that, and we have been on occasions where we've not been in a situation where we could fight the fires. So this system, again, the truck's at least 12, or that tank is at least 12 years old. No, I haven't got an estimate to get it fixed. We've had a lot of trouble with that, and this is a more robust, more dependable, more effective firefighting apparatus to give us a better response capability, because I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to have a second guy running out the door with the rescue.
And just one last comment to follow up, and I want to be clear, if I could, Mr. Supervisor, I don't want to overstate my welcome. That truck was created to be run by one person. Everything is pre-connected. That pump was made to be put into gear by one person. You have to switch valves in a certain order. They were labeled, they were fully labeled. It was 3 different valves you had to do in order. If you didn't do them in order, there was a chance one of them would break because there was so much back pressure on it. And that's the problem we had. I'm disappointed that we haven't even looked to see how much it would cost to repair this pump. Even though it is 12 years old, most of the equipment out there is 12 years old or better. And we're still making all of that stuff work. Again, it's been going, money has just been flowing to the fire department. But that original pump was made to be run by one person. 3 valves, you pull the hose, and you go. And that's, I can't say.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Well, this is just a bid.
Right.
We're not actually approving to purchase it at this point, so could we perhaps get a comparison of both options so that we at least know, that would be great. And you know, we're not firefighters, so this other unit that's in service right now that you're saying you're having the problems with,
Right.
if that really wasn't, if it's just kind of a junky thing at this point, and unreliable, is it feasible to think about replacing that with a similar thing, and is that less expensive? Those are some questions I would have. But being as, you know, we're depending on your expertise here, but it would be good to know all of our options. Replace the valves or get a similar unit, new or slightly used, of that same style, and then compare it to this new technology.
Again, I'll do a white paper, pluses and minuses, but I also want to reiterate that this new system would be one person operated as well. And it, again, more reliable, more effective. So I will certainly can get those, put out with this proposal, we get their quotes, come back, and I get you an answer back to those others.
That would be great, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so we're,
One more question, Keith,
Right.
about that.
We tripped 13,000, didn't they?
This new RFP for this one, is there a certain order, just like Brian was saying, that if you don't follow the order, it's easy to break? Is this just like plug and play, anybody can do it, or do you have to follow certain things, and this could break as easy
No,
too?
this will actually be simpler. So it'll be a turn on a switch, throw a lever to flow the water over to the hose, open the hose. Kind of like it's going to be similar to our ultra-high pressure skid mounted unit that we just bought.
Yeah, because you hate to buy a new one, and then somebody doesn't follow the order, and then that thing breaks.
Right. Again,
Go in,
let me
please.
reemphasize, the older system is much more paved, very hard to, it's a one-time shot. I only have 80 gallons. I go out there and use it, I'm gone. I don't have any backup.
Okay.
okay. Anything else? Can we have a second on this?
Yeah, Mary.
Mary Beth, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Mr. Trent? Are you next? Or is this Mr. Rockwell's? Mr. Rockwell.
The reports, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yes, okay, so I have Mavis, actually I just want to do my standard real quick. I handed out each of the board members a lot of paperwork. One of the first things I want to go through is just real quickly the runs.
This is embarrassing, guys.
Last month we had 39 runs, 67% of them were medicals. So again, we're still high in the medicals, and we're still having a good response time of 6 minutes and 20 seconds. That's all I have for the run reports. We also did community CPR this last weekend. We had about 4 participants come out. We'd like to have a bigger turnout, but you know what? Everyone that gets their chance to learn CPR is another set of hands out there that could save someone's life. So we'll try to do it again, get a little better advertisement out there. But again, this is something I believe the township is doing at a very economical cost. Basically, we pass through whatever it costs cards, we pass just that cost over. So very worthwhile. We had the people that participated were very, very impressed, and I'm proud to say our firefighters did a great job doing that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is MAVIS, which stands for Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. I've given the board a number of background paperwork that I'm not going to go into any detail, but I wanted to make sure that the board had any questions that they may have could be answered by the PowerPoint, which is basically what is MAVIS, what's our current system, what are the required actions that needed to take to go to MAVIS, and what's our future actions. Next, I gave you a copy from the state of Michigan. This is a statewide program, what MAVIS is, so it's just kind of their cut sheet. Next thing in your package, you'll find a news article from Ypsilanti Courier newspaper or online. Basically, it says basically Superior and Ann Arbor Township just recently adopted MAVIS by order of township resolution. And just a little bit of information about their adoption. It's moving across the county, just about every department's doing this. And the last thing I put in there is a Michigan Public Safety Communication System newsletter about Mavis. So I wanted to give a lot of background about Mavis, what it is. I think it is the future of the firefighting. Just as a quick reminder, what it allows us to do is call on mutual aid, not with our neighbors, but with the entire state. So when Dexter had that tornado went through their area, they generally called mutual aid for the responding communities. Now if you buy into Mavis, you get the whole state. Not only get the whole state of Michigan, we get Indiana, Ohio, and all these other states. So whatever resource is needed is already pre-agreed when you agree to the resolution and the agreement. That's signed by the local board. It's a standard agreement throughout the state. If, for example, we had somebody, God forbid, get trapped in a trench rescue, which we had in Ypsilanti Township, it was a deep trench. There's only one team in the area, Pontiac Trench Rescue Team, that has that capability to respond. We can make one phone call and they're here. So this Mavis puts a pre-established system of mutual aid for our township and vice versa for our neighbors. Where we would use this at? Major incidents. If a rail car ever happened out here, an airplane crash, we had a mass casualty, a tornado. Are we expecting them not to happen? No, but it happens in communities. So this would help us be prepared and not have to go to the board under emergency conditions and say, hey, we need an agreement for cost recovery to call whatever. This would be already predetermined, pre-agreed to. It's a standard. So we're hoping that the board will consider adopting this, being part of the Washtenaw County mutual aid Mavis system. Like I said, we're going to be one of the last departments if we do agree to this, but I think it's important. It brings our department in with, again, our brothers and sisters and our neighbors to help us out should we ever need that emergency. Is there any questions I can answer that the board may have?
What about the cost you mentioned? That I mean, how do we share that and keep, make sure,
Right.
One group isn't getting taken advantage of?
Right, so one of the things that goes with this is I spoke at the last board meeting about looking at our cost recovery. Typically what happens, and say for example, if we had a hazmat spill here with the rail car, we're gonna have a lot of cost up front that we're gonna have to pay for. The hazmat team comes in from the county, they're gonna have a ton of cost. Our cost recoup is typically from the person who caused it, whether it's the insurance company, the rail car. Natural disasters would be our own insurance company, things like that. So those would be what we want to make sure that if we need those cost recoveries, that we already have that ordinance in place to do that.
How about when we don't have someone at fault, it's a tornado?
That, again, that would be our internal natural disaster, and we would have an insurance policy for that.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to adopt this, we need to pass both the resolution, which I gave you a copy of, and then last month I gave you a copy of the agreement, which is some 20 or so pages. So I didn't make a copy for everyone. The clerk has a copy of that, just to save paper. I didn't want to kill a lot of trees with it. All this is online. It's standardized. It's a standard agreement in the state. There's not, we really can't change it because it's been adopted statewide.
All right. One question, Mr. Supervisor. Is this part of an enhancement on a more regional basis to determine what equipment is out there and available that can respond to these kinds of emergencies?
It very much is. It's not only standardizing what resources are out there and how you touch them, but how we communicate, how we type the material so we know what we have. We will be creating, if we adopt this, we'll be creating what's called standard box alarms. So if I get a structure fire, and we basically set this up our whatever way we want, we do it by quadrants. If I get a structure fire in the southwest corner, my box alarm would probably say I'm going to call Superior Ann Arbor Township in Northfield for tankers. And all I would do is say, I'm calling in my first alarm, and that would automatically dispatch me, pull my card out and say this is the units that we would get. We establish what's a second alarm, we establish what's a third alarm, so we go all the way to 3 alarms, and these are pre-made conditions. So I'd be looking at making those up for structure fires, I would be making those up for train derailments, hazmat, airplane crashes, tornadoes, and what we call mass casualties. And probably the worst scenario would be is we had a bus, the bus got hit by the train, and or a bus got hit and we had a lot of kids or adults, whatever the case was. So those would be our predetermined, what we call box alarms that we would establish. And that's, again, we can make it up however we want. We would probably look at our neighbors and see how theirs are set up so that we're kind of similar.
We won't have to change anything with our current radios, they'll modify the signals so that...
We would be turning our radios in to add another set of frequencies, but those are not really our radios. Those are the county radios that everybody pays on their cell phone bill, a 911 tax. The county provides those radios, so our radios will be updated whether we join Mavis or not to have the Mavis frequencies in.
Any other questions? This is the full report that the clerk has, correct?
Yes, sir. I've got extra copies that Mr. Plato has.
Question. Is there annual fees to be part of this? Because I didn't see anything like that.
No, this is strictly an agreement, a mutual aid agreement. So there's no maintenance fees, there's no fees. The only fees that we're going to see in the future, and we're talking about it right now, is the radios under 911, the tax that's starting to run out. So we're talking as public safety departments how we extend that or look at keeping those radios active. Like that's separate of the Mavis agreement. That's our normal radio operations.
Does each state, I know Michigan, this is a Michigan, but does Mavis go like in
Yes.
Ohio and Indiana? Like
It does, and you could find that in the reading material that I gave you.
Mhm.
So there's a ton of information. There's one website for just Michigan, and Indiana's the home of this, that started this, and it's moving across the nation is kind of the standard. Well, I gave it last month. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let us look over it more. Since I've got your information, review it some more.
There's a bunch of, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a
Okay.
shout.
All right, thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Trent?
We're gonna
You
finish
have something else, Jim?
Firefighter applications.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to flip out since I've talked real quick, the tanker specs. I have the draft that you guys have a copy of the drawings right here. It's the one drawing on it.
Right.
And here's the specification for it. It's probably 100 and some odd pages of technical. It's about 90% complete. I didn't make a lot of copies of this, so if any board member wants to see it, I'll lend you the copy. And then it has been circulated once to the fire department, and as I get closer, I'll circulate it again for more comments. So we're about 90% complete.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Supervisor, thank you. To refresh the board members, you'll recall that last November, we authorized to hire 3 additional firefighters, and we posted advertisements for taking applications through the end of December. Because of the holidays, we deemed it was in our best interest to extend that deadline to the end of January. A committee was authorized by the board consisting of Chief Rockwell, Supervisor Whitaker, Treasurer Converse, and myself to review those applications and have interviews with qualified candidates. And last Thursday and Friday, the committee did meet with 3 candidates. You have 2 motions before you tonight. The first one is as follows. I move that Salem Township approve the hiring of the following 3 candidates to the position of Salem Township firefighter, subject to the successful completion of a physical examination, driving record and background investigation, criminal record check, and verification of references. 3 individuals being recommended are Scott McGinnis, Kevin Miller, and Joseph Kunis.
Second on that?
I'll second it.
Mr. Supervisor, just as a brief comment, we were very fortunate, I think, in this round of applications to have some very qualified candidates, contrary to what we may have gone through in previous opportunities for hiring firefighters. The candidates that are being nominated here all have firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 experience. 2 of these gentlemen have had multiple years of experience out in the field. One, I think, 12, the other 20 years of firefighter experience. And the other candidate has completed firefighter 1 and 2 as well. So we've got a good crop of experienced personnel to bring to the forefront here, that we don't have to invest a lot of training like we did in the last go around a couple years ago. So this will be a good addition to our staff and be able to help us out immediately.
So the cost that the township will incur basically will be bunker gear and,
So if I may correct,
all right,
Mr. Supervisor. So basically, the 13 applicants that we received, 3 of them have all the qualifications to work in this state right now. They have their MFR or higher medical license for Michigan, and they have their firefighter 1 and 2 for Michigan. So basically, for them to come on the department, we need to get them bunker gear, and they would need to get familiar with our equipment, which is drive hours in our vehicles, so that they know how everything works, and they'd be ready to go. So and they're in the township or very near to the township. So great bonus, these guys are already trained, ready to go, and really, some really great,
what do we pay for training before?
about $15,000 to $17,000 when you figure out between the hours of cost to go to school per firefighter. So these guys would be walking in the door with that, as well as great experience. So one of them's on an active fire department, very active Pittsfield Fire Department. Another one's been 20 years from Unadilla as a captain. So we're very fortunate to have somebody that wants to work in the community, that already has the training, already has the know-how, and just wants to step in here and help his fellow citizens out.
I believe, I don't mean to interrupt you, one of, I can't remember which one, Joseph, I think it is, he lives on Tower Road, which actually
Correct.
lives in the township, which is a
Right.
plus.
Right.
And the other 2 are real close by, I believe they're just 6 in Ridge.
We have one at 6th and Ridge, and we have one in Northfield Crossings, which I'm really excited to have a
That's
firefighter
right.
in Northfield Crossings. And that would give us the ability for that person to go right from his house into the crossing. And you know what? Probably 40–50% of our calls are in Northfield Crossings. So I'm really excited about that being smoother and quicker.
And Mr. Supervisor, you jogged my memory with your question that these 2 individuals that reside in the township are new, fairly new additions to our township. And we're not living in the township when we were seeking candidates previously. So out of the current applicants that we have on file, this has been refreshing to see. People that have great qualifications that we can pick from.
Okay, any other discussions about these 3? Do we have a second? Mr. Lindsley, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
You all right, Dale?
Mr. Supervisor, a complimentary motion I'd like to bring to the table as a result of our review of the applications. We'd like to recommend the following, that Salem Township approve an open-ended application period for fire department firefighter positions and approve the additional hire of 3 firefighters to the Salem Township Fire Department.
Second on that? I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Members of the board, the rationale for this proposal before you is not only were we fortunate to have the 3 candidates that you just approved, but we also have additional candidates who have similar qualifications. And as we look at our current roster of personnel that can respond. As you will recall, the board, prior boards had authorized a roster as high as 28 firefighters for a community our size, for paid on call to make sure that you have adequate personnel to respond to emergencies. And with where we're at right now, even with the addition of these three, that will be a great asset to our staff. We see that there is a potential need to even add additional folks. And we have, and part of what we want to do here is that, you know, we've kind of limited ourselves in the past by putting arbitrary deadlines that we would be looking for applications. And with the other applicants that we have available to us, and with going out again to advertise that we have positions available, I think we will help ourselves not only today but going forward, where if we do get the good fortune of somebody applying for a firefighter position, they may have just moved into the community, and they have that experience, why should we limit ourselves by not being able to look at that person immediately and see, is that person potentially a good fit for us based on our personnel needs at that time. So this will leave our firefighter positions open-ended applications, allow us to go back and reassess some of the other applicants that came in after that January 31st deadline, and also seek additional applicants and come back to the board in the next month or two with some potential new recommendations on staffing.
Okay, anything else? I think, how many firefighters again, Jim, we have?
We had 13 applicants received that I have right now. We had 2 that came in after the board closed it that have all the qualifications as well.
But how many firefighters do we have?
Oh, thank you. So Mr. Court, Richard Court, Lieutenant Court resigned as of the end of this month, or the March, because he's moved out of town. So we have approximately 22, 23. We've got 1 on leave. So we really look forward to this new blood. The guys coming in are great for shifts because they're going to be available at night and days, because the Pittsfield firefighter specifically works 4 days on, 4 days off.
Right.
So those 4 days off, he'd be available, and he's in the community, so it's a great win-win for everybody.
Okay.
I just have a question. Out of our guys that we have right now, not with these 3 being added, do you foresee that there's others that are indicating, you know, is there a certain amount that you're kind of thinking, oh, they might in the next 2 or 3 years
Yes.
be?
Well, actually, it's going to be probably sooner than that. We've got some firefighters that aren't making the mandatory participation of 20%.
Oh.
So we're going to maybe lose 1, 2, maybe 3 firefighters on that. Again, we need that participation for a number of reasons. One, to keep their skills sharp, to make sure that they're working with us as a team. And then thirdly, because of the fact that they're not getting the hands-on or the training, that, again, they're not being effective. So we set that minimum parameter of 20%. So last thing I want to say, if I may, so quickly, is that Richard has retired, and you know, it's broken his heart. He really loved the fire department, and he's given a ton of years to this community. He's going to be back April 10th. We're going to give him a plaque and stuff. If you see him, he has saved countless structures. He's been around. He's been a great mentor for any of the firefighters. If you see him, say thanks, because he's really given his heart and soul to this department, and he's gonna miss it. He's told me he's gonna miss it, and we're gonna miss him. The last thing I want to do is real quickly is that we're coming into spring, so everybody's gonna start burning. This is where we run the brush fires, and it runs fields. It's really dry out there right now, even though we had a ton of snow. By ordinance, you need to supervise the fires when they're burning. If we come by and they're not supervised by code, we have to put them out. So we ask that you be cognizant of your property as well as your neighbors, because we've been to a number of fires where they haven't been supervised, and they do run not only your property but the neighbors. And we've had some fairly large ones. I'm talking acres. So coming into the burning season, please be cognizant of that. Thank you.
Okay, Jim. All right, so we have a motion on the table, right? We do. Okay, any second? Any understanding? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Passed. We got the Washington County Law Enforcement. Now we're down to board discussion under the road maintenance. Maybe that's why everybody's here tonight.
Oh, where do we start?
Let me just make a couple comments about roads, kind of give you an update of what's been going on. I've received many phone calls, many emails, a lot of people coming in. It's you know, people are just very frustrated, and myself, all you have to do is drive down, especially our dirt roads in this township, and not only is it embarrassing, to me, it's unexcusable to walk or to drive around and see the conditions of these roads. Now, I've been in the township or around the township for about 25 years. I've heard from different boards that have been sitting up here. I hear people who come in and the first, when somebody calls in or emails or whatever, the first answer that people are given to is to call the county. And rightfully so, because as we all know that the county does own the roads, they are in charge of them. They have, you can call them and ask them a bunch of things. I've had a lot of people say they haven't returned their calls when people call them, and people call the township, and the answer many times is that you just have to call the county because they own the roads. But to me, moving forward, I just feel that this is not a good answer anymore. I don't think that we can tell the residents of our town that this can go on like it has been going on. I understand that they don't have the money. Treasurer Converse and Trustee Trent, we've been up there. I have talked with them many times on the phone. I have been there. I've seen their books, their income that comes in from the state and federal, and they literally just do not have the money. And I don't, how do you, what is our next step? But our next step is not, to me, is not an answer, is that it's the county, and I just feel like we have to step in and figure out how are we going to help the residents that live here. Now, the first thing, again, we don't own the roads, so let's get that clear, we don't. The other thing that I've heard from many people in the town for years, that Salem Township is one of the few townships that contribute money to the county to help with these roads. And I went and went through there, and I have people, you're more than welcome to get copies of these. We're going to actually put this on our website. All 20 townships in Washtenaw County contribute to the roads to help maintain them. So it's just not Salem Township, it's the 20 township, and it has a list of them. There was $9 million from all the townships that were contributed to Washtenaw County to help with the roads. So I guess I'm saying in one phase that yes, we pass it on to the county, and that's our answer for people to say, well, we pay twice. We've already paid through our taxes to maintain them. But folks, if they don't have the money, where is it going to happen? So we just live with this problem and don't do anything about it? I don't think it's a good answer. And some townships, I don't know if you read some of them in some cities, I believe somebody told me about Rochester, Green Oak Township, they put a millage on their taxes to fix the roads. Now, we can either say to our residents, we're going to put a mill, let's mill and raise our taxes to take care of this problem, or we use some of the reserves from the landfill to help fix these roads. The thing we have to be cautious about, I feel more than anything, is that we have to make sure that we are getting our fair share from the county before we do anything to assist them to help with these roads. And that's, I believe, this board's job to make sure that it's distributed evenly amongst all townships of the maintenance that needs to be done in all the townships. Because we don't want to be saying, well, hey, we have the money to help fix this problem, and therefore they don't give us our fair share. So So that's very important. And again, this is just, we've been in touch with them, we've been talking with them, and it's like, there just seems like it's the same thing every year. We know the spring of the year, what happens to these roads, and it's awful. And again, those of you that live on these dirt roads, I don't know how you do, I don't know how you put up with it, they're so long. It's like, when the spring of the year, we know what's gonna happen. What do we do? I mean, basically, the frost is as it's coming out of the ground. They have a hard time grading them, this is what they're telling us. But at the same time, we can have limestone, we can have, the stone or whatever available in the spring, or have a bulk of it, and either figure out how they can apply it, especially in the aprons as you're taking off, where it's so hard to get up speed to get onto the asphalt. There's ways of us to look ahead to make sure that when the spring comes, that we don't have these kind of problems with our roads. A perfect example, and I definitely want to make sure, my daughter lives at the worst corner, I think, in the township, which is Brookville and Goverson Road on that turn there. I mean, I don't get it. So first of all, if they start taking care of that, don't think it's because my daughter lives there. She's never complained. But I've heard from her neighbors and all the people along Brookville. But that's just a good example of looking at what goes on at that corner. And I know most of you, probably have traveled down that road. So the answer, to me, in my mind, it's kind of like, well, if they grade it 3 times a year, and that's what they're providing in maintenance to us, well, what happens if they grade it 6 times a year? And are they graded every month? What is the cost of that? What are we looking at? So these are things that the road committee, we have formed a road committee, things that we need to find out and attack this problem and get it under control once and for all. And again, if the state, if they start, pouring money into this, we are still hoping that we are going to receive money and receive the money that the $350,000 that we invested last year, $350,000 this year, and then the last payment next year for the repair that we did on North Territorial. So anyway, moving forward, go ahead.
One of the issues, one of the questions that I brought up when we were out at the committee, it says, okay, let's not talk about money. Do you have the actual resources? If we were to give you the money to do it, and they wouldn't answer the question. So I think what it is that as a complete department, their resources are being stretched. That means manpower, equipment, and all the rest. So it's not just a money issue with the county. They're being stretched, and they're trying to be as frugal as they can. So it is a multiple faceted problem, and it isn't necessarily just money. It is also a resource issue as well, but it primarily is a money issue, ultimately.
Well, again, we have to do, I just feel we have to do something. And I do want to open it up to comments for people who are here tonight that would like to make a comment about it. I think one of the big things that I see, I got a crazy phone call today from people who live on one of these roads, and they had surgery and coming home and trying to get to their home. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. I don't get it why a township like us, my opinion, it's not this other board, but my opinion, since I've been supervisor here, there are 2 things that are important. I believe it's our fire department we need to have a good fire department, good rescue for people to help when people need. And second are the roads. These are just very 2 important things that I think we need to address. Because everybody lives on a road. I don't think anybody here doesn't live on a road. And they should be maintained. We should have the best roads in Washtenaw County. And, but I think, but we do need people's support to say, listen, we do need to get behind this and figure out a way to do it. All right, comments?
Yeah.
Who decides these roads that are non-commercial roads for trucks? Because all these roads have been shut off and we drive miles and miles to go around them. Yet the roads are still terrible. It's not the truck's fault. These chunk holes are created by several cars going over them when the roads are wet. And it seems like it just is a general comment, it's a tremendous waste of fuel and time
Right.
when we drive 8 miles to get to Salem, when you gotta go all around Curtis Road and all these different
Well,
roads.
I can't tell you about how many calls that I get of trucks that aren't supposed to be on some of the roads that they're on. I mean, they're traveling down a lot of these roads that they don't even belong on. So it's a problem with the trucks too. We kind of surrounded with everything. Comments? Yes.
I wrote a letter, as you know, I copied you last night to the commissioner, and I understand what you're saying. I don't know that I agree or believe everything that they told you. I'm convinced that Washtenaw County is focused on Ann Arbor. I get that, they get a lot of money from Ann Arbor, but they're also responsible for Salem Township. I don't know, this is my first meeting, I don't know what everybody else's vision is for Salem Township, but I believe this could be, an offshoot of Ann Arbor if Salem developed itself properly, and it starts with these stupid, crappy roads that we have. And I don't think grading them is the answer. I think they need to be asphalt. I
But this
just
is
do, and
Salem.
I think that, pardon?
This is Salem, we want asphalt roads.
Yeah, why not?
Not Salem.
This is country.
Because it's country.
Yes.
Well, asphalt to me is still country, but if you
In
don't
your-
agree, you don't agree. But they need to be corrected. I mean, either way,
In your,
asphalt or grading them.
Advocacy of asphalt, I'm not pro or con for you. Look back in the record, 3 to 5 years thereabouts, on the west side of Michigan, counties on the west side of Michigan, townships on the west side of Michigan. They actually tore up asphalt roads and put them back to gravel because they couldn't afford to keep the asphalt roads in condition.
So asphalt is more expensive to maintain.
You put it down, as an example, there was a 1 mile stretch that I happen to know about that the county road commission wanted $155,000 to asphalt it, 1 mile,
Okay.
just 2 lanes. And at the same time, they had asphalt roads all over the rest of the county that were the same thing like 5 Mile, which is of course my best choice. But like 5 Mile, they were asphalt and they had holes in them. And they're trucks and they are people going very fast and you hit a bump and when your tire and suspension rebounds after that bump, there's where your hole starts. And over on the west side, this is one of the things I looked into at the time. Over on the west side of Michigan, they were tearing up asphalt roads because it cost them too much to keep them at that, basically about $1 million to redo the trail.
Okay,
And if
let's
that's
get,
the case, then fine, it's not really an asphalt versus gravel issue, it's
But
an
they need
issue
to
of
be-
the roads being
Yes.
such a mess.
Most of the, and again, folks, still, it's, so much is about public safety too. Trying to get trucks down these roads in this condition is just not
It's
acceptable.
ridiculous, and I think
not
you're
acceptable.
right, it's embarrassing. This is not a crummy little township, there are beautiful homes here, and good people living here paying a premium tax, and we got holes everywhere you look. It
Good
doesn't
farmers
mean more
paying tax,
grading,
too.
right, exactly, that's my point. And so, does that mean more grading? I don't
Yeah.
know what it means, all I do think is that
Okay, let's
Washtenaw
get some
County
questions
is
for
not
you.
paying
Okay,
attention to
all right,
Salem.
Sandy?
Do we have an agreement with Washtenaw County that says that we have to use them for the services? So, for instance, if we were to
Good question.
pay our own road maintenance, can we hire a subcontractor
Good question.
to come in here
Right,
and
we-
deal with it
I-
and not worry
Right.
about them?
About a week ago, we had a long conversation with them on the phone about this. They basically said that if we did pull permits, or the contractor pulled permits, there would be a way that they would be open up for us to maybe take care of it. And I thought, well, that's good. Well, then I had heard from another guy, because of being unionized, taking work away from them,
Yeah.
that it could be an issue too. So they're gonna get back to us on it, because that's a good point,
We
you
may
know.
be paying a lot more dealing with Washtenaw County for the additional services than we may be.
Exactly. And then we have talked about that. I mean, I know people in the past have talked about, even purchase our own grader and have somebody to grade our roads or whatever, just, but, and that's not a bad idea either. If we, because we have so many roads that are dirt roads in our township.
Another quick question too, the 20 communities that contribute to the road services through the county, are they contributing equally or are they contributing on
Yeah, all different kinds, I mean,
all
like,
different percentages?
correct, well, just, they actually list the amounts, but like Superior Township last year gave $322,000.
And how does that compare in relation to Salem?
Well, we gave $350 last year.
Plus,
Plus,
do the other counties have the same problems with the roads that we do?
yeah, I mean, it's kind of a problem all over the state. Yeah.
Especially right now.
Okay, let's take as many questions as we can.
Gary, now, who's on this road committee that you're talking about?
Dale, there's,
Still Mary Beth, Bud's house, and, from you, Griffin.
Now, I talked to Gary about this numerous times. Why is there not a person on that committee that knows these roads?
Eddie's on there.
Huh?
Eddie's on there.
And Eddie Roth.
Well, I mean, there's other people in the township that know these roads also that would be.
Come on, I
be an
haven't heard him
access for you
step up
guys.
to volunteer. Come on, and be on the
Here, I you gotta be smart about it, I'm just telling you.
No,
It would
I'm
help
just
you guys
telling
out.
Well, all you have to do is come
And
to
all you
volunteer.
gotta
We
do is
don't-
ask him, Gary.
We got Eddie Roth, he came up.
I'll see you later.
We need it. Okay, back here?
Yeah. This is the first time I've heard of a committee, so,
Yeah.
but I have 2 points. How do we get information to you about particular areas of concern that would weigh in on your decision-making? And secondly, I was at a meeting here, I think it's Gretchen Driscoll, our city rep,
Right.
and she was, spent an hour and a half going over this with several people at the library, and she's working on a program now, so if you're gonna get a hold of somebody, you ought to contact them now, because apparently they want the pressure coming up through
Right.
their offices.
Right. Thanks, Jim. Bonnie?
Back to your thing about grading 6 or 8 times or whenever they get bumpy or every, don't forget, gravel roads have to be salted every time they're graded, chlorided every time they're graded. So that's another expense.
Right. Right. Tom?
I don't know if this is the right time or not, because it's not really about road maintenance, but what's up with the proposed traffic circle at 7 and Pontiac Trail?
There was some funding for that that did not come through, and the road commission did call and said that they were scrapping that plan. But,
I just want to make a statement on these roads and the fire department. And this is, I don't know if everybody knows, this is a real serious situation. As you just mentioned about, we got a phone call from a person that had surgery. It's gonna take response team from the fire department to go to somebody's house, not an emergency or to a traffic accident, because they have to go around these bumps and these holes and what have you.
right,
So I think, we ought to do some investigation of what it cost us or to pay them
right,
to get 3 or 4 times a year grading.
right.
So to your comment, we just broke the muffler on Rescue 91 because of the roads, the hangar road. And then not just the dirt roads, but if you look over here at 6 Mile on the pavement, the asphalt is starting to fail in a couple places too. So it's really been a bad year. We haven't, received the cycles, but so I guess we just.
I just think the answer for a long time has been push it to the county, and I don't think that's the answer. I think we have to come up with a way to help our residents who live on all these roads. And I mean, everybody talks about the surplus that the township has. And maybe I'll be the supervisor that spends the most money. Well, so be it. All I'm saying is that, what are we going to do with that money? And I'm just saying, when it comes to our fire department and our roads, I think them are 2 things that we really need to invest in this so that we have it, because this helps all of our residents who live in our town.
Gary, the problem that I see with a lot of the roads in Salem Township is that they've never really been given a good base. I mean, we spent a lot of money on Curtis Road when I was on the board, And they said that they were going to be taking that down and creating a good bed for the road. And because that road has always just been, it went from dirt right to pea gravel. Since I've been there for 40 years, they just kept putting pea gravel and tar and pea gravel and tar. They never really gave it any Class A road specs to it. And so what we're doing when we give money a lot of times, it just erodes. But because they never prepare the ditching, because there's water standing on these roads, and it's undermining everything. So you're talking about a lot of money to do a lot of ditching so that the roads are crowned. And then you have the frost issue, and we're a pass-through township. We're never gonna get away from that. We've got people who wanna go from A to B, and they're just gonna come through here. And I know it's a problem with truck traffic, but if there's some roads that we can make as Class A roads for trucks to go on, then at least we don't have all the problems of it crumbling all the time. Up north, the roads are better up north, and they're paved.
Again, the last thing I want the township, I think, to get involved in is to be in the road business, because we're not in the road business. I understand that, but I do think it's pretty obvious to me how to solve the situation. In the spring of the year, we know these roads are like they are. You budget, you have a bunch of limestone ready. When the weather breaks, because then they say, well, we can't grade them because of the frost in the ground, and they don't want to get on them right away. Well, then the simple solution is to have budget or limestone or whatever it is, to have people out there spreading it so people can get to school and to work safely and not wreck their vehicles on these roads. It's a simple solution. It just said, until they can get the graders out there to do it. And I think it, in some ways it's simple, but we have to figure out how to jump on it as soon as this happens, right?
Is there any way that we could work a contract with the county that if we do decide to go and take this action on these roads, that they will reimburse us if they get money from the state?
Right.
They'd be willing to sign that so that they are being accountable too.
We basically have done
take
that.
care of us.
Yeah. We basically have done that with, North Territorial. That's what they proposed to us, and that's how we got North Territorial done last year. So these are good things, but, yeah.
Have you heard any more about the grant for Angle and 7 Mile? Last year when they stone chipped the road, they stopped east of my property. And when I talked to the county, they said it was because the road was in too bad a shape and that they had to that stone chipping wouldn't help and that they had to wait for a grant. Well, I know they filled that one great big hole going west before the light at least 4 times already this year, maybe more. And it's every time you drive over it, it's still a hole.
Yeah, I haven't heard any more about that. I didn't, that's the first time, I don't remember hearing about a grant for Angle Road. But
Yeah, we talked about it last year, but.
Did you say that the county's gonna work with the committee, or no?
Mr. Converse goes to the meetings with me up to the county when we go out. We do have.
Like everybody else, I placed a lot of phone calls to the county, but I've yet to have one return. The only one that really they're talking with is Supervisor.
They started, just for some of you who live on some of the roads, they did start today on 5 Mile grading. I don't know if any of you live on 5 Mile. They did Tower Road today, grading between 7 and 8 Mile. That's done today. And then tomorrow they will be starting on Brookville. So that's what I know right now. Now, May 14th, I believe it is, the last email I got from them, is when they do want to sit down, meeting with the officials in Salem and going over and going to lay out and tell us what they are going to be doing as far as maintenance for the summer project. So At that time, we will be able to tell you what, I mean, 6 Mile is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Would that be open to the public?
It's not, it's, I don't know if we can come to that or not.
There have been times in the past where they've come and it's been a.
Up to here, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we go, this is a meeting in Washington County at their office on the 14th.
One more question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have one of the supervisors from Washington County come to one of our meetings?
Sure. Okay, in the back?
Yeah, I'm wondering who has jurisdiction over the 8 Mile road between Griswold and Pontiac Trail? Is that Washington or is that Oakland?
I believe it's Oakland. So, Bonnie?
In years past, they've always been a road commission come out to one of our township meetings so we can actually hear what they're proposing.
I will tell them we want them out here.
You're scared of
Okay. Okay, but really, any other comments about it from the public? Yeah.
One thing, Harry,
Yeah.
they talked about the union being upset that it may take, I thought we were freedom to work state now.
Still doesn't
We're
mean
right
you
to work.
won't be upset.
So they can grieve all they want.
Right. Yeah, Tom?
Is there anything that could be done about all of the mud that's on Napier where you exit the dump? There are times when...
Before what? Napier and what?
At the exit of the dump on Napier, you know how all the trucks track mud
Oh.
down south on Napier? And it goes like all the way to 5 Mile.
Yeah.
They used to clean it with the brush, but they'll come in.
But that's a low point right
We'll meet with them too, so.
They do it like a rinse off every truck before it leaves. Clean the road periodically, summer.
Make a complaint to MDEQ for nuisance dust. There is a state law that you can't have nuisance dust.
Okay, any other comments about the roads? All right, if not, we'll close that, and we're down to public comment.
We should already.
You never know, we're not talking about the roads.
Yeah, it's more of a public request again this year. A lot of you know me, I'm Cal Lockton from the Salem Community Events Group, and we could certainly use a couple of volunteers on Flag Day to help us with traffic, just even if you could help for an hour or so, or if you have younger kids who could help out. Some of our members are getting older and having health problems. It's getting tougher and tougher to get some of this stuff done. We need somebody to stand up and help us with directing traffic to parking. During the day, somebody to sit down and just help watch the kids that are going into and just every 5 minutes, you have the kids come out and have another batch go in. The rest of the time, you're just sitting there watching. And setting up tables, 20 minutes, half an hour, and it'd be done. And at the end of the day, another 20 minutes or so, we take the tables down and stack them in the fence. So if we could get some help, and you don't have to come to meetings necessarily for that. We do have a meeting the last Saturday of this month, 11 o'clock in this room, if you do want to come to that, or get a hold of me. Carol's got, or volunteer Carol's help. She's got my number there, I'm sure, and can get you in contact with me, or any one of the members of the Flag Day Committee. A little bit of extra help would make things a lot easier for everybody.
Thanks, Cal.
Can you put something on the website, make it easy for us to find you?
Works for me if it's...
That's a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
When is your meeting? You said it was Saturday?
Saturday at 11 o'clock, I think it's the 29th. It's the last Saturday of the month. Normally it's the third Saturday, but...
26th?
26th? Okay, 26th.
Where, is it gonna be here?
Yeah, it'll be here in this room.
Okay? Thanks, Cal. Yes, sir.
I just want to say, we are starting back up a committee for clean up Salem Township. I received a phone call today, and so we're going to ask for volunteers. We haven't picked out a date yet, but probably will be sometime in May. It'll be like 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning. We haven't discussed anything yet as far as designated roads or whatever. We're gonna try to get a hold of the landfill, see if they can loan a truck or a dumpster, or if somebody has a trailer or whatever they wanna, come out and volunteer. Just people on both sides of the road, just pick up the crap and take it to landfill and dump it. So that's what we're gonna start, and I guess my name and my phone number is gonna be on the next letter, so people can call me up if they wanna volunteer. We'll get things going in the city.
All right, thanks, Bob. All right. Sandy.
Supervisor Whitaker, on the form that you're going to send, or you're having up there for people to pick up regarding the December 10th, 2012 meeting, does it happen to state in there what the charge of that committee is? And if you could you please read it to us?
Where's it at? Can I hand it over there, or can you put it up? Okay, Salem Springs Committee appointments. Motion by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mr. Trent, to appoint Gary Whitaker, Mary Beth Schmidt, David Trent, to the Salem Springs Committee. The Salem Springs Committee will continue the charge of implementing decisions and negotiating and working with Salem Springs LLC representatives. Committee guidelines 3, 6, 7, and 11 are still laid during this process.
It doesn't say anything about arbitration in it? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear exactly what you were saying.
Right, and
It does say about arbitration?
it talks of,
The charge of the committee is,
what's the point?
well, if arbitration, it says arbitration in the charge of the committee in the minutes, okay? And my question is, has this committee ever been recharged since then? Because I couldn't find it in any of the minutes since December 10th of 2012. So the committee still has that original charge. We long ago went out of arbitration and settled arbitration. In fact, I think it was shortly after this board came into office that the arbitration was resolved. So have we not recharged the committee then?
There's all kinds of issues that are still pending with them. We're doing the job of what the committee is supposed to do, charged to implement and negotiate and working and whatever they're bringing. We're not making any decisions, we're just listening to what the plans they have. There's no, when they are ready, again, as I've said, I don't want to create or have anybody create, and this is not personal against you, I'm just saying I want to make sure that the public realizes that what's happened at that corner for so many years, we have spent so much money in legal fees, and it's because we have not communicated with the residents and let them know when something is actually coming down the pipeline. And when that happens, we are gonna let the residents know, and that's what the charge of this committee was to do.
And Mr. Supervisor, if I can just add this comment, even though Mrs. Petrosky is correct that the arbitration was concluded with the township having to pay some monetary awards to the Showstack Group.
Well, it was $250,000 the day we took office.
But as a result of that, the township is still charged with facilitating and negotiating with the Showstack Group by order of the arbitrators to work toward a mutual satisfactory end, such as water and sewer issues. And those are some of the key issues that are going on in discussion as a result of this committee charge.
I fully understand that, Supervisor, or
If I
Trustee
could,
Trent.
in both the original and the second arbitration award, there were actually 2 arbitration awards. The arbitrators took it upon themselves to reserve jurisdiction over anything that was necessary to enforce the arbitration award. So in that sense, the arbitrators at least claim they still have jurisdiction. I mean, can legally dispute that, but that's the position of the arbitrators. The other thing I would remind the board and the public of is that we do still have litigation pending with the Showstack.
Okay, anything else?
I did have a question for Clerk Wensley. What percentage of our documents have been scanned so far by Ameriscan?
I'll have to check on that, I don't know.
Okay, because I know that we've paid them 100% of what the contract was. So if it's not 100%, then I would question why you've paid 100% of what was owed in the contract if they're not finished with what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I'll check that out and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
I think I have your email.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else tonight? Okay, I'm going to read, we're going into closed session. I move that Salem Township Board of Trustees go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 A, E, and H to discuss settlement strategy pertaining to current litigation and client privilege memorandum on the following legal matters: Mark and Hamilton and Linda Hamilton versus Salem Township. Also inviting former individuals to attend: former Supervisor Robert Heil, former Trustee Marcia Van Fossen, former Trustee Susan Bejan, and former Trustee Brian Witkowski. And I also like to make mention tonight that before we approve this, that we have 3 supervisors in the Township Hall tonight. Fred Ruperti's here tonight. It's nice to see him at our meetings and praying that he recovers. Robert Heil's in the back. It's nice to have him here tonight. So maybe we should have our pictures taken like the presidents did.
I think that's a great idea, Bob. I think it's great.
Right. Anyway, thanks. All right, so let's I have a second on this motion?
Second.
Yeah, better vote on it.
Okay. Do a roll call on this?
Converse?
Yes.
Daniel is absent. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes. And Whitaker?
Yes. Okay, we're dismissed or adjourned, and give us about 15